The grand chamber of the Galactic Council glittered like the inside of a god's eye. Hundreds of species gathered under a ceiling of rotating stars, each constellation shifting in time with the rhythm of debate. Voices layered over one another. Deep, liquid tones of aquatic envoys, the electric hum of crystalline minds, the resonant growl of the predator delegates. At the center stood Ambassador Rhea Salas of Earth, her posture calm but unyielding. Her Terran uniform was simple, charcoal black, no rank bars, no medals, a quiet rejection of ceremony. Around her, the air shimmered with translator fields, carrying every word into every ear. Across the table, Counselor Vrax Thull of the Serity Dominion leaned back in a serpentine chair, scales like polished obsidian reflecting the chamber's light. His voice dripped mockery. Ah, the human delegation. The ever-diligent, ever-defensive Earth. Soft laughter rippled through the chamber, cruel and indulgent. Tell us, Ambassador Salas, Vrax continued, how fares your grand armada these days? Still polishing relics from your little Karan incident. The mention of the war brought murmurs. Everyone remembered the Karan, the swarm that had burned half the Orion Spur before the humans stopped them. Stopped them by destroying 3 of their own worlds to trap the enemy fleet. Rhea's expression didn't change. She folded her hands lightly on the table. Our fleets remain where they have always been, she said softly. Prepared. Prepared? Vrax tilted his head, mock curiosity glinting in his golden eyes. For what, dear Ambassador? The Karan are extinct. The Concord enforces peace. What do humans fear now? Complacency, she replied. That silenced the laughter, but only for a moment. Then came the snickers, the murmured jibes from delegates who had never seen a war up close. Typical Terran paranoia. They still think the stars are hunting them. A species that mistakes trauma for strategy. Vrax smiled, exposing narrow, ivory fangs. You see, Council, this is precisely what I mean. Humanity cannot adapt. They build fleets, weapons, entire industries of war. And for what? To defend their ego. Rhea turned her gaze toward him, unblinking. Her eyes were the pale gray of an overcast ocean, not cold, but fathomless. You speak of ego, she said quietly. Tell me, Counselor, how many ships does the Serity Dominion maintain? Irrelevant, Vrax hissed. More than 1,000, isn't it? We are a governing power. Then you prepare, too, she said simply. We prepare for threats. You prepare for ghosts. The chamber's laughter erupted again, loud, echoing, theatrical. Even the high speaker's crystalline carapace clicked with amusement. Through it all, Rhea didn't move. Her face was composed, her breathing even. When the noise finally ebbed, she stood. The movement drew every gaze. You mock our fleets because you believe we fear you, she said. You're wrong. We maintain them because we understand you. That simple sentence cut through the room like static. Translator beads stuttered as algorithms caught up to the nuance. Vrax's smirk faltered. Ambassador, he said smoothly. This tone borders on hostility. No, she said, shaking her head faintly. Hostility is loud. This is restraint. A chill rippled through the chamber. Not from her words, but from her calmness. There was no anger in her voice, no heat. Just fact. And the galaxy had learned to fear human facts. When the council adjourned, the delegates spilled into corridors of light and marble, gossiping like schoolchildren after theater. Humans always were dramatic, someone muttered. They'll learn humility one day. Earth clings to war like a badge. From a balcony above, Rhea Salas listened to them without expression. The hum of the station filled the silence. Distant engines, pressurized conduits, the heartbeat of a civilization convinced of its own permanence. She turned as a shadow approached, Commander Iden Hale, her military liaison, tall, dark-haired, in a black Terran fleet uniform stripped of insignia. His presence was quiet, but there was steel in his bearing. You heard them, she said. I did. And, same as last time, he replied. They laugh before they count. Rhea looked back toward the starfield through the glass. And we? We don't count, Hale said. We move. Later, the Salas quarters. Rhea sat alone at her desk. Outside her window, the red dwarf's light painted the council station in bloody hues. She was reading fleet readiness reports, dry lines of logistics, refit schedules, fuel reserves, ship positioning. Her fingertips rested on one entry, Sole Defense Command, clearance request pending. A chime broke the silence. Encrypted signal. She opened it. The holographic seal flickered. United Terran Strategic Command / Priority 1. Only 4 words appeared. Protocol Aurelian confirmed. Execute silently. Her pulse didn't quicken. Her expression didn't change. She closed the file, rose, and keyed her comms. Commander Hale, she said. Ma'am. Initiate recall. All Terran fleets. No broadcasts. No transponders. Acknowledged. Departure? 0400 UTC. Then let them sleep, Rhea said softly. Let them wake to silence. Council Station. The following morning. The dawn cycle began with the chime of the orbital bell. Automated drones swept through the concourse, broadcasting news bulletins, trade reports, and the Council's daily agenda. But by the second hour, confusion rippled through the comm channels. A technician monitoring long-range scans frowned at his console. That can't be right, he murmured. He recalibrated. Checked again. Cross-verify Sole Defense Array readings, he called. I'm not getting transponder locks. The other operator leaned over. Maybe a systems lag? The tech shook his head. No. They're not lagging. They're gone. One by one, monitors across the station blinked to black. Human shipyard feeds offline. Orbital docks empty. Command posts unresponsive. Entire patrol routes blank. By the time the high speaker convened an emergency session, the realization was already spreading like wildfire. Every registered human vessel in known space, from patrol corvettes to supercarriers, had vanished during the night. No signals. No transmissions. No traces. Only silence. The council station had never known silence like this. Normally, the grand concourses hummed with a chatter of envoys and the rhythmic pulse of bureaucratic machinery, the heartbeat of galactic governance. Today, every corridor echoed. Holopanels flickered with unanswered transmissions. Military observers crowded into intelligence bays, speaking in hushed disbelief. A single question rippled through the void between stars. Where did humanity go? The report. In the council's central chamber, the emergency session began before dawn. Every seat was filled, insectoid delegations clicking in agitation, gas-borne entities pulsing within containment fields, reptilian commanders whispering through split tongues. And there, at the human station, empty chairs. No Terran ambassador. No aides. No insignia left behind. Only the faint scent of ozone where their devices had been. At the center, Counselor Vraxthul paced like a caged predator, fury barely masked. His long tail flicked behind him, restless, his scales glinting in the cold blue light. They've fled, he hissed. A species of cowards, running to lick their wounds after embarrassment. The high speaker's voice trembled. And their fleets. Vrax bared his fangs. You mean they're antiques? I imagine they've gone into hiding, perhaps planning some desperate. He froze mid-sentence as a holographic display shimmered into being at the center of the chamber. The Osirian Admiral Uros Thane, head of the Concord Defense Array, materialized as a flickering projection, calm, dignified, eyes dim with fatigue. Counselors, Uros said, this is not an evacuation. It's an erasure. A murmur spread like wildfire. Clarify, the speaker demanded. Uros tapped his data tablet. Streams of coordinates filled the air, human sectors, outposts, shipyards, even civilian stations. Every tag bore the same status. Signal lost. Not destroyed, Uros said quietly. Not disabled. Gone. Their transponders ceased transmission simultaneously, across a volume of space spanning 42 light-years. The Dravani envoy hissed. Impossible. No species can synchronize that many jump signatures. Uro's met his gaze evenly. Humans can. They've been perfecting distributed hyperfold navigation for decades. They never shared the schematics. Vrax sneered. You're saying they simply vanished into thin vacuum? Into silence. Uro's corrected. And silence is deliberate. The Terran void. From the orbiting defense arrays near Sol, observation drones transmitted what they could before blackout. The feeds were chaotic, streaks of light, rippling gravity wells, entire shipyards dissolving into distortion fields. Then nothing. A deep, unnatural quiet fell over the inner systems. No beacons, no comms, not even automated distress protocols. The orbital docks above Earth were empty, as if humanity had never existed. The Concord Intelligence Bureau dispatched probes. Most never returned. Those that did carried corrupted data, static and radiation scars. One transmission survived long enough to play 3 seconds of footage. A Terran dreadnought, its black hull reflecting no light, pivoting gracefully before entering a silent jump field. Across its flank, faint and ghostly, the ship's name gleamed for an instant. US Eidolon. Then it was gone. The fear beneath the debate. By midday, chaos ruled the chamber. Delegates shouted across languages, translator nodes struggling to keep pace. Some demanded sanctions. Others called for search fleets. The Varn Collective's representative trembled visibly. If they've gone dark intentionally, it's an act of war. War, the Thalex Prime hissed. War against whom? There's no one left to fight them. You don't understand, said Uros, stepping closer to the central dais. This isn't aggression. It's preparation. His voice was calm, almost reverent. You think they fled because of fear. But humanity never runs. They relocate. They position. The chamber erupted again, words clashing like plasma fire. Impossible. Cowards. Deceivers. But the phrase hung in the air like gravity. They position. Elsewhere, deep orbit, Council Station. Commander Iden Hale watched the chaos from the viewport of a cloaked shuttle tethered miles beyond the station's light radius. He stood with hands behind his back, expression unreadable, as the Council's glow flickered across his visor. Behind him, the U.S. Arden floated in stealth mode, one of the few ships that had not jumped with the fleets. The hollow beside him shimmered, and Rhea Salas appeared, calm, sharp, her voice a whisper in the void. Status, she asked. All fleets dispersed, Hale replied. Last transmission from Aurelia Command confirmed full blackout. No traces. And the Council? Panicking. Vrax is shouting. The speaker's losing order. Rhea's lips curved faintly, not a smile, but the ghost of one. Then it's working. Hale looked out toward the station again. They think we ran. Let them. You realize this will terrify them. Good. She paused. Terror breeds caution. Her hologram flickered as her ship shifted position. Hold your course, Commander. You'll be our eyes, while the galaxy learns silence. Understood, ma'am. The transmission ended. Hale turned back toward the viewport. Beyond the curve of the station, the red star glowed faintly, like an ember at the edge of dying coals. In its reflection, his own face looked carved from shadow. They called us ghosts, he murmured. Now they'll learn what that means. The first signal. At 0300 Council Standard Time, the first outpost went dark. A Cerity relay station at the edge of the Halo frontier reported an anomalous gravity spike, followed by static. When Concord patrols arrived, they found only drifting debris and a faint ion trail, human in signature, but refined beyond known classification. By dawn, 6 more outposts had gone silent. The Council convened again in panic. Uros spoke only once. They're not attacking, he said. They're repositioning their fleet lines, just beyond our detection grid. Why? Asked the speaker. Uros' gaze hardened. Because the last time they were mocked, 3 empires burned before we understood their warning. Meanwhile, unknown space. Humanity's fleets gathered in the dark between stars, engines quiet, running lights dim. The Eidolon drifted at the center of a vast formation, hundreds of warships arrayed in geometric precision, their matte black hulls absorbing the starlight until they were almost invisible. Inside the bridge, Rhea Salas stood beside the tactical holosphere, blue light tracing over her features. The coordinates displayed were blank, uncharted void. All ships accounted for, reported her adjutant. Stealth protocols holding. Fleet cohesion at 99%. Rhea nodded. And the council? Disarray. They think we're preparing to strike. She looked out into the darkness, a vast sea of nothing between galaxies. Not strike, she said softly. Remember. Her reflection wavered on the glass. Let them wonder what we're preparing for. Let them remember who taught the stars to burn. The galaxy had grown used to humanity's noise. For centuries, Terran transmissions filled the commnets, bursts of laughter, arguments, trade offers, even the strange, rhythmic music that baffled the synthetics of the lyrics cluster. And then, overnight, the noise stopped. No chatter. No beacon. No trace. The void left behind was louder than any war. The first night without Earth. The silence began to eat at them. The other species, the proud empires who once ridiculed the human presence at the council. Without realizing it, they had grown used to Earth's unpredictable energy, the species that argued too much, smiled too easily, and fought like cornered gods. Now that warmth was gone, and the stars felt colder. Aboard the council station, tension became routine. Every diplomat felt the hum of paranoia beneath their skin. Shadows seemed longer in the corridors. Conversations ended when someone passed. Even the lighting dimmed slightly, as if the power grid itself feared to be noticed. Counselor Vraxthal, once the loudest human critic, began to avoid his reflection. In every polished surface, he imagined the faint outline of human eyes, watching. Whispers from the fringe. 2 weeks after the disappearance, a ghost signal reached the Concord periphery. It was faint, encoded in an old Terran distress pattern no one had used for decades. At first, the analysts dismissed it, until they realized the pattern wasn't random. It was coordinates. They led to the Terric Expanse, a desolate sector abandoned after the Wars of Ash. The Council immediately dispatched an expedition fleet, 3 cruisers, 5 corvettes, and an Osirian dreadnought as escort. Command fell, reluctantly, to Admiral Cor Velis, a cautious strategist with little patience for myths. When the fleet emerged from jump, they found something impossible. Floating in the void, a structure. Black. Silent. Enormous. A ring hundreds of kilometers wide, forged of alloys unknown to their scans. Its interior pulsed with residual heat, faint blue veins of power crawling along its inner edge. There were no stars nearby. No planets. No sound. Cor's voice trembled as he spoke. What in the void did they build here? The scanners replied with a whisper of static, then something else. A voice. Human. Female. Unauthorized presence detected. This sector is under Terran interdiction. Depart immediately. The fleet froze. The voice was calm, precise, military. Old Terran dialect. Cor swallowed. Identify yourself. We already have, the voice said. And so have you. The ring pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Then every sensor on the fleet went dark. The ships floated blind. Panic rippled through the bridge crews, but before any could fire thrusters or weapons, the static cleared. The ring was gone. Simply gone. No explosion. No light. Only a fading signature of human drive plasma. Cor's report was never filed. The fleet's data recorders were wiped clean upon return. And yet, word spread as it always did. The whispers began. Humanity is out there. They're watching. They built something in the dark. Council division. By the 3rd week, the Galactic Council fractured. Half demanded preemptive mobilization, fearing a human counterstrike. The other half urged restraint, convinced Earth's disappearance was a bluff, or perhaps a trick by rival powers. In the midst of the chaos, Admiral Uros Thane stood before the chamber once more, exhaustion in his eyes. You still don't understand them, he said softly. Humans don't posture. They prepare. Vrax sneered from across the chamber. Prepare for what? They're gone. They abandoned their homeworld. Their colonies are ashes. Uros turned slowly to face him. You think they need planets? He touched a control pad, and the chamber filled with projection footage, compiled from centuries of Terran archives. Images of massive orbital habitats. Mobile shipyards the size of moons. Interstellar fleets capable of refueling from the vacuum itself. They were never tied to ground, Uros continued. They learned to make homes out of metal and silence. Their species thrived in exile before, when Earth was dying. They adapted. They always adapt. The room grew still. The Varn representative whispered, trembling, if they've gone dark on purpose, they could be anywhere. Uros nodded once. That's the point. The Council learns fear. That night, security feeds caught a flicker of movement on the outer ring of the station. A shadow glided past the hull. Humanoid in shape, heatless, and faster than any drone. The patrol ship scrambled, chasing a phantom. When they returned, one drone carried a single mark burned into its plating, 3 diagonal slashes, forming a shape like a hunter's claw. Human insignia. 3rd Fleet Recon. The Council banned all mention of it. But silence cannot erase dread. Soon after, the trade guilds reported strange disappearances, cargo ships vanishing in slipspace, leaving behind echoes of Terran beacon codes. The Cthor Dominion lost an entire convoy. The Varn Collective's data relays began intercepting strange transmissions, strings of words in archaic human English. Observe. Remember.
Wait.
No one could trace the source.
No one wanted to.
Rhea Salas, the architect of shadows. Far beyond known space, deep within a nebular shroud, Fleet Marshal Rhea Salas stood upon the command bridge of the U.S. Eidolon. Around her, the fleet drifted in formation, countless black silhouettes against a field of crimson gas. Her officers spoke quietly, efficiently. The air hummed with controlled tension, the silence before something vast and inevitable. Rhea gazed at the tactical hologram, a map of the galaxy glowing in pale blue. Dozens of red markers pulsed across Council sectors. Infiltration teams, sleeper probes, observation drones. Humanity's reach extended farther than even she had imagined. Status report, she said. Her adjutant, Commander Hale, replied. All shadow fleets in position. Outer colonies have been evacuated to deep space. Operations Eidolon, Spectre, and Wraith are complete. And the Council? Still arguing. For the first time, Rhea allowed herself a thin smile.
Good. Let them.
By the time they finish debating, the map will have changed. Hale hesitated. And after that? Rhea turned toward the viewport, the nebula light painting her face in eerie red. After that, she said quietly, we remind them that ridicule has consequences. She rested her hand on the railing, not in anger, but in calm conviction. We gave them peace. They mocked it. So we'll give them silence. And when the silence breaks, the galaxy will listen. The fleet's engines flared once, their light swallowed by the nebula. No transmission followed. No trace remained. Only the echo of a promise, drifting through the void like a whisper from ghosts. No one declared war. No formal message. No ultimatum. Only silence, and the slow unraveling of a galaxy that had mocked the wrong species.
The first strike.
It began in the Cthor Dominion, along their outer trade routes. Convoy vessels, hundreds of them, simply disappeared from hyperspace lanes. When search teams arrived, they found no debris, no life signs. Only residual distortions, faint electromagnetic ripples, and, on one shattered cargo pod, the words burned in Terran script. Politeness is a warning. The Dominion accused rival powers of sabotage. But within days, similar disappearances struck across the Dravani expansion and the Cerati alliance. Patterns emerged. Every affected fleet had, months earlier, voted to humiliate Earth at the Council. The Council's analysts tried to calculate human fleet strength. Their projections contradicted themselves. Some fleets appeared simultaneously in multiple sectors, others operated without detectable fuel signatures. The data was impossible. And that was the point, the invisible front. At Council Command, Admiral Uros Thane watched from the observation deck as holomaps flickered in confusion. His officers whispered numbers that didn't make sense. "Sir, we're tracking human presence in at least 19 sectors simultaneously. Cloaked signatures stealth so refined our sensors can't lock." 19, he asked grimly. "There aren't 19 Terran fleets left in existence." "There are now." Uros stared at the glowing points, each pulsing like a heartbeat in the dark. He exhaled slowly. "They're not fleets. They're task groups. Splintered, mobile, self-sustaining. Ghost fleets." He nodded, each one acting as a single organism. That's how they fight, like predators. A silence fell. The junior officer swallowed. "Predators don't negotiate, sir." Uros turned to the viewport, his reflection ghostly against the stars.
"No," he said.
"But humans are polite. They'll warn us before the kill." Vraxthul's fall. Counselor Vraxthul's quarters had become a fortress of paranoia. The once proud Dravani kept his lights blazing at all hours, triple-checked every transmission, and slept with a plasma pistol beneath his scales. He'd led the campaign to strip Earth of its boat. He'd laughed at their primitive fleets. He'd called them cosmic beggars in tin cans. Now his private escort was missing. On the fourth night, Vrax woke to a faint sound. Air systems cycling differently. The temperature dropped. The lights flickered once. When they steadied, a figure stood across the room. Human, armored in matte black, helmet reflective, motionless. Vrax froze. His tongue trembled. "Guards," he hissed, but the calm was dead. The figure didn't move. It simply placed an object on the table. A small metallic sphere. Then it spoke, a woman's voice, calm, clear, unmistakably Terran. "Counselor Vraxthul," she said. "On behalf of humanity, we thank you for your honesty at the vote." He stammered. "Duh, what do you want from me?" "Nothing," she said gently. "You already gave us what we needed, proof." "Proof of what?" "That the galaxy still underestimates us." The sphere pulsed once. A hologram flickered, his own words, recorded from the council floor months earlier. "Humanity's fleets are relics. Their courage is myth." The figure tilted her head. "Relics," she repeated softly. "We preserve relics." And then she vanished. No flash, no sound, only the faint scent of ozone. The sphere remained, glowing faintly. Vrax stared, trembling, as it projected coordinates across his wall. Dozens of them. Every coordinate was a location of a council defense array. Every one recently compromised. The council cracks. By week's end, panic had dissolved the council's unity. The Cerati accused the Varn of conspiracy. The Varn blamed the Osirians. Uros Thane begged for calm, but fear was louder than reason. An emergency meeting convened in total darkness, security systems offline to prevent Terran listening. It didn't help. A voice broke through the chamber speakers, low and polite. "Good evening, counselors." The room froze. "We hope this channel finds you well." Static crackled. The voice continued, measured, courteous, unmistakably human. "You ridiculed our people. You called us savages. You told us to sit quietly while others decided our fate. We have chosen silence as requested. But understand this, silence is not surrender. It is the sound of sharpening." The feed cut. Half the chamber fled. The other half sat frozen in place, unable to speak. Uros stared at the darkened ceiling, pulse hammering. "Dear God," he whispered. "They're everywhere." Humanity's shadow doctrine. Far from the council's reach, Fleet Marshal Ria Salas observed the chaos through streams of intercepted transmissions. The Eidolon's bridge was dim, lit only by holographic displays and the cold glow of stars passing in silence. Her strategist, Commander Hale, approached. "Operation Spectre complete. Thul's outburst has divided the council. Uros Thane remains the only voice of reason." Ria nodded. Then he'll be spared. And the others? She didn't answer at first. She traced a path through the holographic star map, lines of red light marking former human colonies now empty. We don't need revenge, she said finally. We need perspective. Hale frowned. Perspective? They think we're angry. But this isn't fury, Commander, it's correction. The galaxy forgot what we are. We're reminding them. She looked up. Deploy Ghost Protocol Theta. No weapons fire. No casualties unless provoked. Just reminders. What kind of reminders? Ships appearing inside their secure zones. Beacons transmitting fragments of their own intercepted plans. Let them think we know everything because we do. Hale nodded and turned to relay the orders. As he left, Rhea gazed out the viewport, her reflection merging with the void. They wanted us silent, she whispered. Now they'll learn how silence hunts. The Ghost War expands. Across the galaxy, strange events unfolded. A Varn warship drifted through its own dockyards, crewless. Every system intact, a single message burned into the bulkhead. We could have destroyed you. We chose not to. The Cerati capital woke to find their planetary defense grid reprogrammed, every cannon aimed skyward at nothing. The Dravani Fleet Command received encrypted logs of their own war crimes, leaked simultaneously to all neighboring worlds, time-stamped courtesy of the Terran Directorate. No shots fired. No armies moved. But every government felt the same cold realization. Humanity wasn't attacking. They were teaching. The message. On the fourth month, an encrypted transmission reached every major power simultaneously. One message. One voice. Fleet Marshal Rhea Salas. Her face appeared, calm and expressionless, eyes like polished steel. To the galaxy that mocked us, greetings. We are not seeking vengeance. We are not seeking war. We are seeking memory. You laughed when we warned you what happens when humanity unites. You forgot that our species was born on a dying world, forged by extinction and tempered by loss. She paused. You mistook courtesy for weakness, politeness for submission. You were wrong. Her voice softened, almost kind. We will not conquer your worlds. We will not burn your fleets. We will simply exist where you cannot see, and remind you, politely, that some ghosts still hunt. The transmission ended. And with it, for 4 months, the galaxy lived under the rule of quiet fear. No planet had been attacked. No world burned. Yet every star system felt haunted. Humanity had vanished from maps, and yet, somehow, they were everywhere. Trade convoys vanished, then reappeared, fully stocked but carrying Terran script warnings etched into their hulls. Outpost AIs woke to find their code rewritten, optimized, improved, with footnotes signed simply, "You're welcome." The galaxy began to understand. This was not vengeance. It was control. The weight of paranoia. At the council station, silence reigned where laughter once lived. Delegates avoided eye contact, and entire wings of the facility were sealed for maintenance. No one trusted anyone anymore. Admiral Uros Thane, one of the few voices who had defended humanity, sat alone in the observation dome. The stars outside were so bright they looked close enough to touch, but he knew better. Every one of them might hide a Terran fleet. His aide approached cautiously.
Sir.
Another transmission came through. From where? Unknown origin. Encrypted with a human cipher. Uros straightened. Play it. A calm voice filled the chamber, unmistakably Rhea Salas. Admiral Thane, you spoke for us when no one else did. For that, we offer clarity. The holo flared to life, a galactic map, red lines tracing the edges of known space. Then, far beyond the council borders, a faint shimmering cluster appeared, coordinates deep in the intergalactic void. We left the galaxy, Admiral, Rhea said. But not in retreat. We found something beyond your borders. Something old. You called us reckless explorers. You were right. We followed a signal, older than civilization itself. We found worlds untouched, gravity wells stable, and energy unlike anything catalogued. We are building there now. a bastion between galaxies. Humanity's second dawn. The transmission flickered, and Ria's face appeared.
Calm.
Determined. Tell your council this. We are not hiding. We are evolving. And when we return, it will not be to beg for a seat. The feed cut off. Uro stared at the darkened chamber. For the first time in months, he felt not fear, but awe. God help us, he whispered. They're not ghosts. They're pioneers. The council fractures. The council emergency session that followed was chaos. They're bluffing, one delegate screamed. No species can survive an intergalactic void. They already are, replied Uros coldly. And they've been planning it for decades. The Varn Collective demanded retaliation. The Serity insisted on total withdrawal from human space. The Osirians proposed a peace mission, though none volunteered to lead it. And then, as if summoned by the argument itself, every display across the chamber flickered once. The Council's great holographic star map dissolved into static. Then, slowly, words formed across the air, clear, blue, and chillingly polite. You argued while we built. You laughed while we learned. Now you whisper while we listen. A pause. We wish you peace. Truly. But, remember, silence is a language too. The words faded, leaving nothing but the distant hum of the station's power core. Beyond the stars, the new frontier. Across the void, where no star shone, where cosmic radiation rippled like frozen waves, humanity thrived. Thousands of ships drifted in formation, orbiting a colossal artificial world, a luminous ring structure 10 times larger than any known habitat. It was still incomplete, but already alive. Its inner surface glowed with cities, fields, and the faint, amber shimmer of atmosphere. At its heart hung the UNS Eidolon, flagship of the Terran Exodus fleet. Fleet Marshal Ria Salas stood on the command platform, surrounded by hollow projections of human settlements blooming like fireflies across the new void. Commander Iden Hale approached, his expression unreadable beneath the blue light. Fleet reports full operational capacity. Civilian habitats are stable. Phase 2 construction begins in 12 hours. Ria nodded slowly. And the council? They're still trying to find us. Ria smiled faintly.
Good.
Let them keep searching. Curiosity is the first step toward understanding. Hale hesitated. Do you think they ever will? Understand us? Yes. Ria turned toward the viewport, eyes reflecting the glow of the ring's inner cities. Eventually, the galaxy always learns after it bleeds a little. Her hand brushed the insignia on her uniform, a stylized silhouette of a human figure standing beneath a fractured star. They thought silence meant surrender, she murmured. But silence is how hunters breathe before the strike. She lifted her gaze to the endless black ahead. And when we return, they'll call it a miracle. Or a warning. The return transmission. Months later, deep within Council archives, a forgotten communication array in the Halo frontier blinked to life. A single Terran transmission broke through the void, repeating on all frequencies. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even a demand. It was a song. A simple melody. Old Earth origins, centuries forgotten. Voices human and warm, rising in harmony against the endless dark. As the song played, a message accompanied it in dozens of galactic tongues. We are not gone. We are waiting for you to be ready to see us again. Until then, listen. The feed cut, leaving only the echo of that haunting melody lingering through the comm channels. Even the AI networks paused to process it, not out of logic but something resembling reverence. Legacy of the vanishing. In the years that followed, a quiet transformation swept the galaxy. The arrogance that once defined the Council gave way to humility. Fleets turned outward, not to conquer, but to search. Worlds began naming their new colonies after human words: resolve, courage, dawn. Even the Serity built a monument at the edge of known space, a single human hand, sculpted from silver alloy, open toward the void. Its inscription read, "They left us in peace. May we earn the right to call them back." The final scene, humanity's watch. Far beyond the galactic rim, in the lightless reaches between galaxies, the Eidolon hovered above the completed Terran ring. Beneath it sprawled a civilization reborn, endless habitats gleaming beneath the pale light of artificial suns. Rhea Salas stood at the viewport once more, her voice low as she spoke to no one in particular. "They finally understand," she said. "Humanity doesn't negotiate." She smiled faintly, almost wistfully. "We hunt politely." As the words faded, the Eidolon's engines ignited, not in anger, but in purpose. The flagship turned slowly toward the galactic spiral far beyond, where millions of lights shimmered like scattered promises. "Set course for home," she ordered softly. "Let's remind them what we became." The stars stretched, bending into lines as the Eidolon jumped into the void. The light consumed the frame. Silence followed, vast, eternal, and human.